Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brody Consulting Group. To get more information about our publishing and coaching services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Brandon Miller, who is currently writing his first book called Play to Their Strengths. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul.
Are you ready to get started?
I sure am.
All right, question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
I would say vet your ideas for the book well. Do have some other authors read it, give you some ideas and some insights as to the message and the audience that you're targeting. Do that with an open mind, because in our journey, as we began to interface with a publisher, what we learned early on really helped us, which was to keep an open mind that the publisher would have different ideas for how the book might flow, how the title might end up, and our title did change, and many chapters and structure did get moved around. So keep that open mind, vet your ideas well with some established authors. They can provide some great insights for you.
So you did go through a traditional publisher, is that correct?
That is correct. We are being published in that way, and found so far the journey has been quite educational and rewarding.
And which publisher are you going through?
Harvest House Publishing. They're out of Eugene, Oregon.
Thank you. Yes, anytime that we have guests on the show that are going the traditional route, I always like to know which companies they're utilizing, because all these different companies, they all offer different things. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So in regards to what you feel so far is the hardest part about getting published, what do you feel that is?
Maybe like some of your listeners, I speak for a living. I'm in a consulting role and own a company. And so the book, or the first thought was that it would be an extension of the work that I already do within organizations. So I actually met the publisher that we're working with in a speaking engagement. And he was intrigued by our message, but certainly gave us some ideas of how we might shift it. And I think being open to the different ideas that the publisher had was initially a challenge, because you might have a course of direction that you're thinking about, but you might find that there's another pathway that you could take. I would add just the journey of negotiating with the publisher. You need to be ready that could take 6 to 12 months. In our case, it took a solid 8 months before we had finally landed on what the agreement would look like, and then when we were to hit go. So we had written so many chapters at their request. They requested a bit more, and then when they said go, we had a certain time frame in between the first advance and second advance to complete the manuscript. So you do want to know that when that go button is hit, you're ready to write, because that will present to you a deadline if you hadn't or are not used to working under one in your current situation.
Yeah, that is great advice. So basically, you sent them a draft, and they wanted some more information and further chapters. Is that correct?
That's correct. We sent them 3 chapters. So we endeavored to do that on our own, put together the annotated outline. They wanted to know our marketing plan. They wanted to understand our reach on social media and all the different channels we would engage as we launched the book. And then they asked for 3 additional chapters. We had already started down the path of getting to 6, so we were able to turn that around rather quickly. But it is helpful to be prepared. We have been given advice not to write the whole book and then go to the publisher, because it was likely they would want to make some changes, and that advice actually worked out really well for us. Because once we submitted the annotated outline and then really sat down and map out the book, there were changes, and so we were happy to accommodate and work with them on the direction they thought we should go.
Well, let's talk a little bit about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you've used, that you plan to use in your book launch that you feel is going to work well.
Well, the business that I'm in is we do strengths-based development, and that's the title of our book, Play to Their Strength. And so the basis of that is to think about what it is that you really do well. And in our case, that isn't marketing. So in thinking about launching a book, my wife, who is my co-author, and I really thought about, what we know, what we don't know, what we don't know that we don't know. And so the best advice I could give to an author who is not a marketer is to consult an expert, someone who has experience, someone who knows different ways to put a book out there and can offer you either the consulting side or even the practical engaging. And so I think the one step we took that we're very happy about is that we did launch an author website. And it's great to have already because we have people interfacing with the website. They're signing up for our blog subscription, and we're gaining interest in our future launch team. And so all of these are important aspects that we've been instructed on, and we feel really good about being given directives of different ways that we'll post social media, information, and how we will also keep a blog scheduling. We're starting a blog. So some of that was all at the behest of our marketing team, and probably feel like in terms of overall investment, that's going to pay off very well.
Well, and you bring up a great point, because the thing with publishing, even on traditional publishing deals, they still do expect you to do the lion's share of the marketing. So the fact that you've actually gone out there and have sought out a company to help market your book, that's a very good decision.
Thank you.
And was there anything that they have showed you that you feel is going to really make a big impact with your upcoming launch?
I think that the biggest part is that developing an email subscriber base. So not only did our marketing company talk to us about that, but other authors that I have spoken with who are in the midst of their book launches. One in particular, he said if he could go back and do it again, he would have put all his effort toward developing an email subscriber base. So whether you're podcasting or you're blogging or vlogging, developing that audience. In fact, something our publisher said was, you can have 100,000 social media followers who may do less for you than 1,000 email subscribers. So those email subscribers that are committed, they're listening, they're reading, they're engaging, will probably be your greatest mouthpieces or promoters once the book is out there.
Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
My favorite book is titled Soar with Your Strengths, written by Dr. Donald Clifton. And my favorite part of the book is that he outlines and details the idea for what really we sprung off of for the book that my wife and I wrote, which is an approach to a strengths-based development philosophy that really thinks about what is right with people instead of really focusing in or trying to fix what's wrong with them.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
So from the same book, Dr. Don Clifton said, what will happen when we think about what is right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them? This is my favorite quote. It is the basis, genesis behind the book we wrote, thinking about our kids, more about what's right with them instead of what's wrong with them, and developing them that way. So it really has taken shape as a core philosophy for our outlook on human development.
Well, Brandon, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
They can find us at our website, Anna Lynn, that's ANALYN, Brandon, BRANDON.com. All one word, AnnaLynnBrandon.com. They can learn about our upcoming launch, and there's a contact button there that they can reach us on.
Well, Brandon, I want to thank you once again for being a guest on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.